It's so weird how Zoom does the live streams, but they work. Okay, here we go.
Cool.
All right. And we're live and we're on. All right, welcome everybody. Let's give it a couple minutes. Let people jump in. I just tagged the community. We are on with an AMA with Pure Mountain. The CEO, Jed Grant, is with me. And we're going to chat crypto. We're going to chat Pure Mountain. I'm sure we're going to talk security, identity theft, and all that as well. But yeah, thanks so much for jumping on with me. I really appreciate it.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. So we'll give this a couple minutes.
Yeah, while we're waiting for people to jump on, I'm going to drop you a link to a deck in the chat. You can maybe open that up if you want. Feel free to. Let me get, where's the chat window on this gone for me? There you go.
Oops. Okay, cool. All right, what's up, guys? What's up? Just say hello in the chat. I'm joined today with Pure Mountain, upcoming ICO. It's live right now. You can buy it right now. We are on with the CEO, Jed Grant, and we're going to talk about the project. Okay, cool. Yeah, got your
Very
message.
cool.
All right, so right now it is 9 p.m. Singapore time. You're in Luxembourg. What time is it for you right now?
It's just after 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Okay, great. And it's 6 a.m. LA time. So that's perfect. Catching US before they jump into work and get going. I'll link this as well underneath the video, but there's a good Medium article that I don't know who wrote this. Was this you, Jed, who wrote this, or somebody else?
Patrick, content manager, did all the profiles of the team members based on our input, obviously. Yeah,
so it's well done. So we'll get started. We'll get rolling. I'll give you a quick introduction to Jed, and then I'd like him to kind of talk a little bit more about his story. Is IT professional background, lived in the U.S., in California, then moved out to Europe, ended up in Luxembourg, had identity theft happen in 2010, has worked deeply in security and IT services since, and skipping forward quite a bit, here we are with Pure Mountain. I know that's kind of a Cliff Notes version, but I was hoping you could do better with kind of giving people a background story.
Sure. Yeah. I've been in tech since the very beginning. I was, one of these ZX81, Apple II kind of guys at the beginning, and knew that was where I was going to take my career. So I studied actually computer science a long time ago in the 90s. And then came to Europe in the 90s and worked for NATO, where I was a civilian officer doing IT across the board, all the services. So I had support, training, software development, the whole thing. Left there 2000, and around that time, shortly after, like 2004, started really not liking these new services that were growing up, Facebook, LinkedIn, that kind of thing, and centralization and these walled gardens. And I was a big fan already of decentralized technology with eDonkey and eMule. You probably heard of those. And I used to use Mixmaster, which is a anonymous remailer protocol. I always thought that was very cool.
Yeah.
So moved through sort of that phase in 2000, and I was living in the US in the early 2000s. And then I moved back to Europe in 2009. So 2008, I was kind of commuting back and forth and set up a company here that does due diligence. And then always with a tech focus. I couldn't keep my hands off the tech, obviously, and started thinking about how to build this solution that is known today as Pure Mountain, how to build a decentralized system of trust where you can trust people the way you do in real life, but through a digital medium. So you don't actually have to be face-to-face. And how can you transfer value? And there was a paper that I came across in 2008 on a site called cryptome.org, which I've been reading since it went live in 96. It's kind of like the original WikiLeaks. The paper's called How to Make a Mint. And if you read that paper, it was written in 1996. It was leaked in 2008 on that site. And it explains how to beat the double spend problem without blockchain. And so when I got that paper, it was like, now I see we can actually do this. We can make a solution that works. And I started thinking about the architecture and design. Of course, then Bitcoin came along, 2009, 10. I'm realizing that there we've got the trust engine, but still I need a real use case. So in 2014, I set up a company called KYC3, still going strong. It does machine learning on big data, provides KYC via an API, KYC AML services. And we have a service called KYC Box, which is tailored for ICOs. That's the fastest growing segment of the KYC3 business today. Actually, we serve a lot of ICOs and have partners that use our KYC solution there. And but I was dealing with a Swiss customer and looking at their KYC AML situation in 2015 and 16. And they asked me to give them a comprehensive proposal. And on a lark, I gave them a phase 2 to the proposal that they wanted. And phase 2 was really Peer Mountain, which I'd actually designed in 2015 the way it is, the architecture today, more or less. And told them, here's the real innovative stuff if you're up for that. And they hemmed and hawed for a while, and I didn't know what was going to happen. Thought I probably lost the deal, but they finally came back and said, look, we don't want the basics. We just want to do the innovative thing, phase 2. And so that's when Peer Mountain was born as a project. We started working on the design and the code and fleshing out the spec completely. And we took the project out of stealth in 2017, October 10th. It was announced publicly, and we've been going strong with the project to build community and awareness ever since. So that's sort of where we are. In terms of sale, token sale and whatnot, we had a very small friends and family pre-order in March of this year, where we raised a small amount. That went well. We raised 500 ETH, which is not bad across a small group. And now we're in a private sale phase for the main event, and we've just passed the soft cap. Actually, just signed an allocation for 2,000 ETH in the Bahamas this last week. So
that's great. Congratulations.
Yeah, pretty excellent. So
because a project like this, and why I was really intrigued by it is this is more of a fundamental necessity than anything else. You know what I mean? This isn't, we're trying to decentralize or blockchain an existing business or our market. This is a backbone to the future of cryptography, essentially.
That's exactly what it is. It's a layer 2 protocol solution that makes regulated commerce frictionless. That's exactly what it is. We're not developing the services. We're making the grease that's going to allow, controlled, like this, from the most basic, the sale of alcohol and tobacco, up to very complicated regulatory things like bank accounts, mortgages, securities dealing, all these things, the grease that can make all that happen with compliance and without having to deal with paperwork and procedures, because we just make it all sort of really easy to do. It's all automated.
Yeah. And so give us, for those who haven't looked at anything yet and are just tuning into this video, maybe for the first time and checking out the project, give us the Cliff Notes version of what Peer Mountain actually is.
Peer Mountain is the protocol for trust online and for compliance. It's the back end that's needed to deliver compliance services in a decentralized environment. So what it is an ecosystem that actually runs at layer 2. It's blockchain agnostic. We built the first version on Ethereum and HBase, but we have on the roadmap other chains as well and other storage as well. And it's got 3 different players that interact. You have the consumer role. They're all peers. The consumer, you have the service provider, and you have the trust provider. And these 3 roles come together to enable a regulated transaction to happen. As I mentioned, like the sale of alcohol or tobacco, in the most basic thing, in a Peer Mountain enabled world, you can have a vending machine in an airport terminal that would sell, for example, shots of Jack Daniels, little Jack Daniels bottles, so that nervous flyers could get a shot before they jump on the flight. And that could be done in such a way that you would use your Peer Mountain enabled device, your mobile device, as a consumer. You provide a zero knowledge proof to that vending machine, whether through Wi-Fi or through NFC, doesn't matter, And that machine would then log that on a chain that's run by the company selling the alcohol, by the alcohol control board, by the airport authority, by whoever's a stakeholder in that transaction. And you can actually facilitate this type of regulated commerce without having to have people, look at driver's licenses and other old-fashioned paper documents that we carry around. So all these transactions can be automated and made much, much more efficient in taking all the friction out of regulated trade.
Yeah, which is huge. Like, it really is mind blowing to think about that to think about it from both sides is how epic it's going to be for all of us when that exists, how easy and seamless and more, it'll just flow easier. But I also can't help but think about in terms of how far away, and I might be jumping ahead a bit, how far away do you think we actually are from this adoption to actually make this a reality? Like, and that dovetails into a couple other questions I have, like what you guys are actually planning on doing with the platform, how feedback and reception has been so far. Let's start here at the beginning though, is how far off do you think we actually are from this becoming like a reality? And how quick do you want it?
We want it to become a reality at the end of this year, and that's our aim. But it won't be a reality for everybody at the end of this year. It'll be a reality for the partner that we're working with and their consumers. So we're like 2 to 3 years out for wide adoption, and I can give you some examples of where that'll happen. So we're working with a Swiss financial institution that we've been with since day one on this project, since it became a real project and we started throwing resources at it. And the goal with them now, the next steps on the roadmap are in mid to late August to co-locate some of our team in their headquarters, because they've made this project a strategic priority for them as well. And we'll put them in their headquarters, and we work to take the MVP that we have now and to take it to a live production system. And the goal is to launch a Miles & More credit card or similar proposal on a Peer Mountain enabled instance by the end of this year. So that means that real people will be able to apply for and get a credit card using Peer Mountain as the protocol that facilitates that transaction. And if you think farther out, we're working with a German company as well, and we've been approached by some of their competitors as well. You know, Germans are good at cars. There's a lot of car stuff going on. And if you look at the use case there, I mean, rental cars, that could be happening sort of in 2019, end of 2019. And in this case, you would like leave the airport terminal and just walk into the parking lot of the rental cars, find the one you want in a spot that's available or the one you booked with a number on it, scan a QR code on the dashboard of the car, and that would pull up the service definition from the service provider. And then you swipe in your driver's license, your proof of residence, the things they need. You take a selfie, you take a video walking around the car. All of this is validated by the trust provider, the third peer in the peer chain ecosystem. And then once that's done in near real time, you get the key as an NFC key into your phone. And with keyless entry, you get into the car and you drive away. It's like 5 minutes. You know, you do this right in front of the car, you pick the car. You don't have to wait in a little booth in a line of sweaty tourists. They're all tired, who want to get their cars. You know, you just walk up, get in, drive away. Once you're in the car, you could have a QR code on the dashboard that you could scan to buy supplemental insurance. It's that simple. And these are transactions where normally you have to fill out paperwork. That's basically the key. What Peer Mountain is doing is anytime there has to be an exchange of paperwork or proof of identity or this kind of thing, we can facilitate that transaction and make it frictionless. And that, you know, so we're like 2 to 3 years out from big adoption. Yeah, it's a B2B2C play. So part of our strategy is to find those use cases, those businesses that have lots of customers, and get them to put our SDK in their mobile app and to enable it so they become Peer Mountain enabled businesses effectively. And that can give us a huge adoption. So I could easily see that we could be, you know, in 2 to 3 years from now, have literally tens, if not hundreds of millions of users using Peer Mountain and not even know Peer Mountain. They don't even have to know what it is. It'll be in their UBS or their Lufthansa or their Singapore Airlines. It'll just be hidden behind whatever business they're interacting with. But what's really cool is because it's an SDK, their data will be usable across all those apps. So you can reuse your identity data, and we consolidate all that. So if one business wants a Civic and another one wants a Civic as well, you can use Peer Mountain and you can share that Civic identity information across those along with the other information they want. If another one wants to use, you know, a traditional passport validated by Jumio, you can use that as well. We're not dictating how identity needs to be done. We're just giving you the wallet where you can aggregate all your own information and anything else that you need as part of your profile, we call it.
Yeah, which I love. I love, because it's like, you can't help. I think most people that are into tech, and especially the more you get into crypto, you can't help the fact that it feels like for being in 2018, we're a little bit behind in terms of not only country to country, business to business transactions and renting cars and getting new cell phones and getting new contracts and getting bank loans, getting credit cards, but also be country to country when you're not a resident, and all of what applies there. It just, I know there's I'm not the only one with this thought, is that I just wish it was easier. I travel the world now. I've lived in Asia for the last 4 years. And the thing that I spend the most of my time on is like, what the heck do I actually got to do in this country to get a business set up, to get a bank account set up, to get what are my options for setting up residency? And that's some of the bigger stuff that I see, because I see, a world where borders are kind of starting to disappear and more freedom to explore is starting to open up. And crypto is a big thing that I think is providing that for people, not just from the money they make, but the sovereignty, I guess, that comes with it. So that's amazing. And I see the car rental thing is a slam dunk. And if you went after, like, from a marketing standpoint, that's easy, because you just need to go after a big enough company that will be essentially your poster boy case study that then you can take around and tout to everybody else to get them hooked in. So that's
exactly what we're doing.
Yeah.
That's exactly how we're approaching it. Yeah. Then the second arm of the deployment is to get the McKinseys and Accentures of the world to promote Peer Mountain as a solution to their corporate clients, because it's a win-win for everybody. The company wins, the consumer wins, the trust provider earns in the economy. We can talk about the tokenomics as well if you like. And then they would get a project where they get to do all the business analysis of how to bring this innovative tech in. So the big consulting houses are also going to get behind it. I'm pretty sure. We've had some initial discussions and it looks pretty promising.
Yeah. So explain more about the trust providers. Is that something that is also third party that exists out there that I just don't know about? Or is that something that the businesses, the service provider themselves would have to start providing? Or what is that exactly?
Well, a trust provider is an SDK as well, and that can connect to any Peer Mountain instance. So it's sort of cross-instance compatible. And a trust provider could be like a Mitek or Jumio, or Thomson Reuters, or a credit rating agency. Any company that today provides trust already in transactions can become a trust provider in the ecosystem. We're making that totally open. But a business typically would say, we want this, that, and the other trust provider. These are the guys we trust, which is one of the key things. There's some basic concepts that I've brought forward from my thinking over the years. One of them is that identity is different things to different people, which is why we're not prescribing a specific type of identity, but rather let you aggregate everything into a persona, because different people have different ideas of what your identity means. The other is trust is different. It's subjective, and trust is different to different people. So what we do is we're creating a platform or an ecosystem where the parties choose who they want to trust and who they want as their counterparties, and they can arrange that. And once that's decided, the business can then trust the trust provider that they have chosen. And when they rely on those certificates, that trust provider gets paid by that business. So it's very straightforward in that sense. And the trust can actually be made transitive. And if you think about it, you have to remember it's peer-to-peer. So what we're talking about here is if you and I can be trust providers as well. And I could, in one of the most basic use cases that we actually already have done in the mobile SDK, is that I can take a picture of you and you take a picture of me, and we can cross-certify those pictures. I say, hey, that's Jay, and I trust Jay. And by doing that, someone else who trusts you could end up having some transitive trust to me if they choose to do so. I mean, it's totally feasible within the protocol.
Yeah. And so how are you gathering all this? You mentioned an application. Is that basically going to be kind of the use point, and you mentioned not being centralized and the problem with centralizing data like that. So how is the management of all this going to occur, the whole platform and system?
The Peer Mountain is deployed in what we call instances. So an instance is a semi-private chain that's run by the stakeholders in that particular regulated environment. So if you had the example of the car rental, you would have an instance where nodes are run by the rental company, by the Ministry of Transport, by their insurance company, et cetera. These are the companies that have to verify that these transactions are in conformity with the laws and regulations. From the consumer standpoint, you own all your data, you control your data. Everything's encrypted and everything is controlled by you. When you share information with a third party, whether that's a service provider or the trust provider who's going to look at it and give you back a certificate that validates it, when you share with either of those other two peers, you actually provide them an encrypted copy which you've given them access to. You basically take the symmetric key, encrypt it with their public key, and then they can get the symmetric key to that object. You can still remove that object and they won't be able to see it anymore, but obviously once you've given someone a secret, they have a secret. So you share your information with those parties you choose to trust, but you also can share a minimal amount, and that's where zero knowledge proofs get really, really cool. You know, a lot of regulation today means we can't just zero knowledge everything out because the laws are not there yet, and we need to lobby and get the governments to update and accept this. But there are areas where we can do that. Like one of the areas that really excites me and that I would like to get deployed as soon as possible, meaning end of this year, beginning next year, is to get Peer Mountain enabled across crypto exchanges, and particularly DEX. 0x decentralized exchanges are going to be awesome with this, because what this means is if nodes are run by the various centralized exchanges and we run mutualized nodes for the DEX exchanges, you can do your KYC to a certain level of standard that'll be defined in that service definition once. And then you can provide a zero knowledge proof that you've done that KYC and it's accepted in every single transaction you do, meaning you don't have to do KYC at every crypto exchange. And where the DEX case is really cool with 0x, because there, if the two counterparties want to make an atomic swap, you can actually each just put the proof of your KYC in the data fields of that transaction. And then anyone who wants to come along, even though that's a totally peer-to-peer atomic swap with no central party, can validate that KYC was done on both sides to a certain level of standard. And that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's huge. And that's a big problem right now, not just with ICOs, but also with exchanges. Yeah. And they all kind of do it differently. And they're all trying to live up to, and fulfill these standards. And the standards aren't even laid out crystal clearly country to country either. So it's very interesting to see this market overall, like try and play catch up while still being insanely vague in general with what the rules are and regulations are,
Absolutely.
Very interesting. 2018.
Yeah. But we look at, I've been in this RegTech space for the last 10 years. So looking at that, I mean, you go back to the FATF, which is the Financial Action Task Force run out of the OECD. So they sort of dictate what the general guidelines are, they call them. And as long as you're within their guidelines, which is what the 150 so countries that are members of adhere to, we can actually create something that should be acceptable to worldwide, or in all of the FATF compliant countries, I should say.
Yeah. Now, with your previous experience working with NATO and the different contacts that you have there, is this something that you're attempting to approach them with, or the kind of different international agencies?
There is a lobbying aspect in our roadmap, and we definitely will do that. And I do have those contacts. I mean, I'm already in a number of international lobbying groups and national lobbying groups and advisory groups on ICOs and crypto regulations. So I know all the regulators, and I know the guys at, the International Police Force and that kind of stuff. But today, because there's nothing in production, nothing really concrete to give them, I'm not lobbying them now, because it's a question of resources. We want to get Peer Mountain out there. We want to get it running. And then when we start going to the exchanges at the same time, we want to hire up the lobbyists we need and get that going. On a side note, we just set up the Luxembourg Blockchain and DLT Association. We had to actually, just before this call, we had the launch of that. And the purpose of this group is to lobby the government here and the government in Brussels in order to get sensible rules and regulations for crypto and for blockchain-based solutions. Because if you look at a blockchain, it's jurisdictionless. I mean, it crosses national boundaries, no problem at all.
Yeah. Wow. That's huge. And I would totally wait too until you had more use case and more example to be able to show. You don't go fishing for the big guys before you got some good stuff to show them. You said you wanted to mention tokenomics a little bit, and I think that would be great to touch on, and then we'll grab some questions. There's some questions in the chat box that we'll grab.
Cool, let's do that. The tokenomics are rather straightforward. So the Peer Mountain token, PMTN, is a fixed amount. It's 330 million tokens, 40% are to be sold. 40% are in treasury that'll be used to facilitate deals with those large deployments so they can get tokens, and we slowly increase them into the ecosystem as the ecosystem grows. 10% team, 2% advisors, and 8% legal reserve. The way the token works is it's a measure of account. It's a unit of account for trustworthiness. That's all it is. So every time a service provider gets an invitation consumed, so they get a new consumer on their Peer Mountain instance, that group of stakeholders they work with, there's a payment that's made. And every time there is a trusted certificate from a trust provider, every time trust is used in one of their service dossiers, so a service definition becomes a service dossier when the consumer consumes it. And every time that transaction happens, there is a payment made to the trust provider. So basically the service providers pay because they're getting business, they're marketing, buy my credit cards, buy my plane tickets, rent my cars. And the trust providers are earning in tokens to do that. Because it's peer-to-peer, a lot of times the business is both service provider and trust provider. The car rental company can tell you who good renters are and who bad renters are. That's a trust provision activity. So I could get a certificate from Avis, for example, when I return a car, and then use that at Hertz, get a discount at Hertz, and Avis is going to get paid for providing that trust. So at the end of the day, it's rather straightforward. We don't force the consumer peer to be involved in the tokenomics, but it is an option. If a business wants to pay the consumer to use their data for marketing purposes or something like this, that can be propositioned as part of the service profile, and then the consumer can accept to get some PMTN for doing that. But what we've decided now, because we want to roll out this year, we want a solution where that SDK can be put in an existing app, and the consumer doesn't have to deal with tokens or crypto or anything at all. They just get the service they want faster and easier than they did before.
Yeah. Wow. I like that. I like that a lot. And definitely, like, if, at first glance, but diving deeper into this project, you can tell that it's a longer term play. It's not something that, you necessarily need it to launch out onto an exchange and try and make some quick money off of it. This is something that will build value as more use cases pick up and as the entire user base of the token itself continues to grow.
That's exactly it. We see as the ecosystem grows, the value of the token is going to grow. It's a fungible token, obviously, and the velocity of that token is driven directly by the number of consumers consuming services on Peer Mountain instances. The number of consumers is driven by the companies that are service providers and their marketing budgets. And because we're dealing with big use cases with big companies, I think we're going to see some pretty nice growth in the next 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, done right, it could get some really crazy numbers.
Absolutely.
really.
Yeah. I think we could see $100 billion in regulated commerce facilitated by Peer Mountain within 3 years. That's very, very doable. I mean, I'm talking turnover on those regulated transactions.
Yeah. Okay. So a couple questions that are standing out to me is, are there other companies working on a protocol like this already? I know that in your guys' white paper and on the website, you guys say that you're the only one. And some people put that in their ICO just because they want to say it, and it might not necessarily be true, but are there other retailers and other big businesses that you guys know of that are developing similar right now?
I don't know if anyone is doing the same architecture and the same compliance regulatory focus protocol as we are. There are some projects out there that have some similarities in that they are blockchain agnostic or they're cross-chain protocols. If you look at Blockstack's got some elements that you could compare with Peer Mountain in how they approach cross-chain protocols. There's some stuff done on Neo that is somewhat similar, but there's nothing that's really straight down the line the same idea as Peer Mountain. The bigger threat that I see, actually, rather than someone who's working already on the same thing, is that the identity players that are pure identity plays like Civic or whatever, we're partnering with them as much as we can. But some of them are very well funded and may decide to pivot into where we are, which is providing not just identity, but providing that whole back end of regulated transactions.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've already seen, like, the thing that people got to realize and remember is that this is such a needed thing. It's tools like this, it's platforms like this that stop a lot of the losses that we see in crypto. In the first 2 months of 2018, it's estimated that over $500 million is lost. They're estimating over $3 billion in losses this year in cryptocurrency alone. That's not even taking into consideration any of the other identity theft problems that exist. Stolen social security numbers, data dumps that occur all the time. I would hate to see what the actual number of identity theft and theft in general are in crypto and non-crypto spaces. That's why something like this is necessary, is because the reality is that the whole fabric of how we're doing things as societies, as governments, as countries is hit its breaking point. We need a new way to do things. And with cryptocurrency being the currency that seems to be leading the way, we need the back end infrastructure and architecture to actually, you know what I mean? To actually make that happen. Yep. So that's what a project like this provides. I hope you guys recognize that as you're listening through and starting to piece together the points here with this, right? Okay, what else? So yeah, a bunch of questions that we've essentially already asked. And then, yeah, to kind of answer and reloop that question again is, you know, a lot of what we're seeing in the ICO space, because it's June. June has been a really bad month for ICOs. I don't know how much you follow them, Jed, but there's been a lot that have come out onto exchanges. They've lost a ton of value. And the model that was working back in February and March, when things are starting to get ice cold, are really drying up now. And so that's another reason why something like this is absolutely necessary, because there's just too many gaps in the marketplace right now. You know?
Yeah, you need to be able to strongly track that and have an audit trail, you know, and know what's been done in an environment where you have a regulated transaction. I was seeing one of the questions, so a company can keep their standards and add to their business. Actually, that's in the first rollout that we're doing with our Swiss partner. They are going to run Peer Mountain as a parallel and new channel for customers. And so you don't need to replace your existing systems. They're going to run their services on Peer Mountain as a new customer acquisition channel, and then slowly migrate over. So that's absolutely true. You can keep, and you define your service. So the company decides what they need in that dossier in order to deliver service. We're trying not to dictate any of that. We want people to choose who to trust, what they need to do their business, and who their counterparties are going to be. And we're providing the protocol to make that happen as efficiently as possible.
Yep. So similar to how, eBay, to simplify this way down, eBay brings together buyers and sellers. Very similar.
Sure. Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely.
You're just a marketplace
at the end of the day.
Yeah. You're the marketplace and a person in the middle. So,
well, there is no person in the middle. It's decentralized.
Yeah. You're the chain in the middle.
We're the tech in the middle. Exactly.
Yeah. All right. So I was hoping this would be all processed and ready to go, but I'll talk about it and we can quickly wrap up with this and go from there, because I only have Jed here for about 45 minutes. He's got to catch a flight. I've got a flight in about 6 hours that I still haven't even packed for. So I've got that problem as well. But we're basically going to run a Prima block, which this is the first time we've done one, but in the community, if you've been here for a while, you know that we've done pools together. We just weren't the ones who created the pool, right? And a pool allows us to all come together and group our ETH, and we get special perks. So Jed, if you could go through what they can expect from the pool, that'd be great.
Yeah, sure. So I really appreciate you setting that up. If your community comes together and works through the pool, you guys are going to get the tier 1 bonus, which is a 30% bonus on the PMTN. So you're going to get the private sale bonus, which is, you can't do better than that.
I wanted you to say it because I figured it would sound better. So yeah, we'll get 30% bonus by doing this. So this video after the stream, it'll go out and hey, what's up, Sovereign Resistance? And it'll go out and you'll be able to contribute to it. Minimum contribution is 0.15 ETH, and we'll be in for the 30% bonus pool. So let's make it happen, guys. Let's share the video around. I'll obviously get it out to the community in the Discord. And if you missed this stream and you're watching a replay, then you're up to date on what's going on. Go ahead and do some more research. I'll be posting at least one more video to the channel, going through the white paper, going through the slide deck as well, talking through these nuances again, because I think a project like this, most people, it kind of goes over their head because it's a super techie project, but in comparison to especially a lot of other stuff. But it is something that is fundamental to where cryptography is going and just where global economies are going, right? And so, yeah, hopefully I can shed some more light in a follow-up video for those who might still be confused as to what they're participating in.
And you're absolutely spot on there. This is a project that is complicated. It deals with regulation. It deals with a lot of stuff. And if you have questions, feel free also to join our Telegram group. And I answer a lot of questions there, and my team does. If they can't answer it, they always bring it back to me, and we'll answer any questions you have. I mean, this is not the most simple project in the world, and I understand that. I've actually had that challenge. I've encountered people who said, I love the project, but I just can't wrap my head around it completely. And that I can understand that happening. But so
absolutely.
don't be quiet.
Absolutely, especially at first glance, looking over it, it's like, so what does it do? Like, what exactly is it doing?
Yeah, frictionless regulated commerce is what it does at its core, and it's a protocol for that. So that's what it is. And any question is welcome, even the most basic. We don't judge people by their level of experience in a specific subject.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay, guys. So there you have it. The Primal Block link, I will have it underneath this video. If you don't see it underneath this video, then just DM me or post in general in the Discord. It's still setting up. So we're essentially, I'm watching this thing loop right now in Buffer as it's setting up and deploying the pool. As soon as that's set up, I will link you guys to the contributor link, just like we've done in the past, and you guys will be able to contribute ETH to that. Go through, watch this video again. Be on the lookout in the next 5 days. I'll be publishing another video on the channel, going through this again and breaking it down. Hopefully, the more times you watch it, it makes more sense, sort of thing, and then you can make an educated decision on if you want to get involved in this project or not. All right. Any upcoming news, Jed, that you want to plug real quick, or anything going on your guys' end?
I'm about to catch that flight. Safe travels to you, Jay. Thanks for having me here. I'll be in Gibraltar the next 2 days at the Token Summit there. I'll also be in Switzerland at Crypto Explorers for the next Zug, Zurich, and Liechtenstein next week. So if anybody is in those areas and want to catch up with me, just DM me and we'll meet up as well.
Easy. All right, guys. So there you have it. You can catch up with these guys, the team, in real life at one of these events. You can jump into the Telegram, ask away with your questions, continue to watch the channel here as we post updates and keep you in the loop, or join the conversation in the Discord. Jed, thank you so much for jumping on with me. I really appreciate it. Have a safe flight, my friend, and I'm sure we'll be talking very, very soon.
You too, Jay. Thank you very much. It was a pleasure to be here.
All right. See you guys.